What's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to talk about how Raziel and Malice is going to completely warp the format, and it's not really exaggerated, I believe. If you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about how to play Raziel or play Malice and learn every single combo line, then look no further, guys, than the description box below. I included two spreadsheets that are currently being put up for sale. If you guys want to support myself and all the other coaches in the classroom like Jib and Nesh, definitely go purchase the sheet now to learn like pretty much everything you need to know about Raziel and Malice from a combo line perspective. We show lines how to play around Nib, how to play around Imperm, Ogre, Veiler, Slayer, all that good stuff. So definitely go check out the sheet below. It's like over 70 plus combos, I believe, over across the two sheets combined. So a lot of content there for you guys if you guys want to get additional content and how to get like an edge, especially a month in advance of the crossover breaker set being released. So definitely go check that out, guys. If you guys are interested, of course, guys, don't forget to check out the classroom. If you guys aren't already a part of that, you can get exclusive discounts to these classes and these courses that I'm talking about in the description box below. So that'll be super fire, of course. So anyways, to kind of get started, I want to take a look at kind of like the OCG metagame report, just so we can get a better understanding of like where the OCG is currently at with Raziel and Malice, and how does that affect us and what does it mean for us, right? So right now you can see that the in OCG metagame report number 2, Raziel and Malice has been making up the majority of top cut slots. You can see that it's about like, if you combine Raziel and Malice together, it's about 58%. Raziel clearly outperforming Malice, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be true in the TCG, because Raziel in OCG currently has some cards that we will not get in December. So that's something important that we should note. And of course, you have like a bunch of other decks that are also being in the format, right? Like the Memento deck, the Fire King deck, there's Tenpai, there's Voiceless, and like a bunch of others. I think that like Tenpai is still gonna be a very dominant deck that's gonna be in our metagame, but definitely the two top decks are gonna be Raziel and Malice, and this might be another, you know, tier 0 format. I mean, like these decks are just like really absurd in my opinion. So let's kind of like talk about the Raziel deck, right? So it has a very strong ratio of starters as mentioned here. What does that mean? That means that it can play a very concise engine with a lot of room for non-engine. So in this example that they have on the screen here, you can see that there are a total of 16 starters: 3 Ice Raziel, 3 X Raziel, 3 Thode Raziel, 3 7th Tachyon, 2 7th Ascension, a Bonfire, and a Prosperity, and that puts it to a total of 16 one-card starter in a 40-card deck, which gives you a 93.5% chance of opening at least one starter in an opening hand. If you guys have played the Snake Eyes format, this is pretty much the new Snake Eyes deck. I actually think it's a little bit similar to like an overpowered sprite deck or a power crap sprite deck, right? Literally, some of these cards, like Ice Riser, is literally like a sprite starter in a normal summon, and all these cards like inherent special summons from the hand. So what's really cool about the Raziel deck that should be note that is that it can play through it can really play through like the impulses really well. So I can see impulse falling out of favor just because of how powerful this deck is into like impulse. Additionally, another thing that I wanted to note is that the Raziel deck has 24 cards for non-engine. That is absurd. I don't understand how a deck should have this much non-engine, but this is kind of like the Yu-Gi-Oh that we're in, right? That was transitioned from like the 2014 decks where you required multiple cards and multiple turns to set up in combo. Now like pretty much one card just does a lot. And you guys can go check out Jib and Nesh's YouTube channels. I'll have that in the description box below as well, where they'll kind of cover and talk more about like examples of combos from the sheet that you guys can like, see what type of end boards these decks end on. But it's pretty much like, 3-4 pops on top of like a negate off of one card, multiple cards draws, like 3-4 cards are being drawn as well in the combo. So just a lot of interactions and a lot of draw power. It really does remind me of like Zodiacs almost, because like their main interruption in this deck is like it's Dreadnader, which is pretty much a non-once per turn Trident. Yes, you heard that correctly. It's a non-once per turn Trident. But you can see that in the OCG, they got 3 Furos, 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Maxi, 3 Vela, 3 Imprim, 3 Nibru, and they main deck Artifact Lancia, which I can see happening in. Like, this is probably the main reason why Malice isn't performing as well. These people are savages, bro. They're main decking. Oh, I guess these are side deck. Like 3 Nib and 3 Lanciers are in their side deck, but they have 14 hand traps in the main deck already. So it's kind of actually pretty fire. And then of course, like, they're main decking all the counter plays to Maxi, right? Like the Ash Blossoms, the Call by the Crossouts. Some people are even playing Draw and Lockbird to draw themselves. Not as good in this deck, but that's really something that I know that they were looking into. But yeah, I think the fact that this deck also plays under Furos really well, right? If you get Furos, you can like pretty much give your opponent 1 or 2 draws and end on like a Dreadnader, whereas, you know, other decks can't really do that. So the fact that it does play into Furos really well is nice. It doesn't really play that well into Purelia because it does special a lot from the hand, but it plays really well into Furos, and I think that is something that should be taking a bit of a note about the Ryziel deck. There's also a really good article if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about the Ryziel, the mirror match, and all that good stuff, linked here in the Road of the King. You can translate it from Japanese over to English and maybe get a little bit of understanding about the side deck strategy, like the Ryziel mirror match and how to do all that. But guys, we will put out a masterclass for this archetype pretty much before Weiss Anaheim. If you guys are attending that, I'm more just like, you know, interested in getting a step ahead of the competition. So definitely be on the lookout for that pretty soon too. But you can see like there's like some really nice side deck pattern here that's being showed out, right? Like into like how they're going first into Ryziel, right? How they're going second. You know, they still have Artifact Scythe and Sanctum, guys, in the OCG, complete savages. But yeah, so that's like kind of, you know, that's still a thing. Ultimate Slayer is a tech card that should be talked about. This is a card that I've seen very common in the OCG. It's one of like the board breaker approaches that's being used, like where they combine some hand traps as well with top of breakers to kind of like have an edge in the mirror. But there's actually, guys, in our special, we talked a little bit more about how to beat Slayer. There's actually room to counterplay Slayer. So you can actually beat Ultimate Slayer with certain setups that we kind of like covered as well. So like we can actually outplay Slayer with one of the combo lines we do. And I think that's pretty something important to note. But you can see this is like the first place 43rd, you know, Ram Cup that was played. I believe this is in Japan, and you can see that, like, you know, this is pretty much like the list, the sample list that they have. You know, like I said, very 16 card starters, 16 1-card starters, ways to beat Maxi, ways to beat, you know, the Furos. You have 3 droplets, you know, combining some of the breakers in the hand traps approach, right? So you have like those, you have like this, like, what is it, like 3, 10, 14 hand traps, 3 breakers here. You have like the call by the crossouts. Very, very, very like powerful deck. Now let's kind of look at the Malice deck. So in the Malice deck is very interesting. Dominance Impulse has, you know, like it mentioned in here, very low impact on Ryziel. Kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, that Dominance Impulse doesn't really work against Ryziel because they do a lot of inherent summons. That doesn't really start a chain. And they talk a little bit about how Joel Lockbird is definitely going to be one of the key cards in the upcoming metagame because of how good it is against Ryziel. Because if you hit them off their first search, they're not going to be able to search off of Dual Drive later, which is, you know, the gigantic sprite of the Ryziel deck, which allows you to search 2 cards. And so the Draw and Lockbird is really good because, you know, if your opponent starts, we don't have 7th Tachyon in the TCG, but we do have Bonfire. So if we start Bonfire, getting drawn on 7th Tach on Bonfire is like really, really strong. They always get to Detonator, right? Which is like the I guess the Trident. It's really easy to get to Trident, but at least it stops them from making like a more oppressive board. So I think that's why Joel is seeing some play in the OCG. And also, obviously, you can also use Joel and Lockbird to kind of draw yourself to stop your opponent from getting those additional draws off like the Molchummy. And I think Joel and Lockbird is like, you know, more effective than Ash Blossom, as they mentioned here, because if your opponent activates multiple Molchummies in the same turn, multiple Max C's, whatever, like double Chummy, the Joel and Lockbird is like really, really crazy, right? So because a lot of the Malice cards are actually set from the deck, they don't actually add. I think there's like a couple cards that add, but not that many. Majority of them like sets from the deck, so that allows you to like play through by like, you know, you control yourself and keep playing, which is also kind of clean in my opinion. Obviously Barrier is gonna be a huge like floodgate against the Ryziel strategies because, you know, it's like an XYZ based strategy. So that's why you usually see some links here just in case, like, to clear some cards under barrier. But yeah, Lancia is like, the turn skip against Malice. So, but Ryzo has a way to search like Lancia because of 7th Tachyon, which like completely destroys Malice in my opinion, because barrier isn't really searchable. But yeah, we don't have that yet, so I think that in the TCG, Malice and Ryzo will be pretty much head to head against each other. And I think that it's not like as bad as it is in OCG, as a result. You see right here, there's one of the lists that is being that won Osaka at the Go Yusai Autumn tournament, and you can see here, I do like a lot of the tech cards they're playing, such as like Cold Soul, I believe is a card called. We do utilize this card in our combo as well, and I do think this is a very, very powerful card that it's able to be sent off of like Firewall and Terahertz. So yeah, this is a very cool deck as well. I'm definitely gonna be interested in picking up both of these decks, because in the TCG these decks will get more support, and so like these guys are definitely value picks if you guys are looking to invest into like decks that are viable for multiple and long periods. These are going to be the 2 decks that I think are going to dominate the 2025 time frame, and so definitely pick up the master class to learn how to play this deck, and the spreadsheet to learn how to play this deck at a very high level. And then of course definitely pick this deck up so you can get more value out of your time, because I think this deck, like I mentioned before already, is going to be around for the long run. Nothing really notable here. I think Bistios are really cool. They're playing 3 Bistios in a list, something that I also really like, because the Bistios are used if your mouse monsters get stopped on the normal summon, you're able to convert into a link decoder, and then you can use like the Bistios to keep going and extend. The other cool cards that I thought in this that are coming kind of back is the fact that Goldstark is now like a card that's seeing play again. This is a card that was seen play in the Thunder King era, the Thunder Dragon era, but now it's back again. So I might have to hit up that Gamer's Choice for that Goldstarks, the SJC Goldstarks. But yeah, definitely a powerful card that's back and seeing play again, which I think is super neat. And yeah, so right now Ryzo is ahead in the OCG, but as I mentioned before, I think that in the TCG we're actually going to see this deck be, I feel like, a little bit closer, not as like drastic as this graph shows. And I am kind of excited to see how that will appear. But if you guys are interested in learning and prepping for YCS Anaheim, definitely go check out the classroom. And of course, guys, use the best sleeves in the game, to be well equipped with the right resources to cook, right? So Supreme Pro, Pack10, 61.com. You guys know the vibes and where to go. We're gonna release a crazy drop soon, so definitely be on the lookout for that in December, January time frame. New colorway on the way, and yeah, guys, thanks for your support. I appreciate y'all, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Might leak some combos for you guys in a couple videos for people who are interested. Let me know if you guys are interested, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.